Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Top Talent Chasecast. I am your host, George Luce, executive recruiter, aka the Purple Squirrel Hunter. It is a race to chase top talent. I am thrilled to welcome Kathleen Truax to the latest episode of the Top Talent Chasecast. Kathleen and I connected through Sanford Rose Association, meeting at the Dallas Conventions, where she quickly became one of my go-to voices for insight and wisdom in the recruiting space. In today's conversation, we dive into some game-changing GPTs that she has built for resume review. It's not just about talking AI. It's talking about what she's building with it. If you're curious about how AI is reshaping talent acquisition, resume optimization, and recruiter workflows, this one's a must listen. Thank you, Kathleen, for all the time you took joining me here, and also for always bringing those sharp ideas and heart to everything you do. Right off the bat, last week we were chatting. You showed me a tool that you had built for your colleagues, for your clients, for your colleagues, basically all across the board for the teams that you're working with. Kind of wanted to walk through it, but first and foremost, I'm sitting here with Kathleen Truax from a recruiting firm, Truax Construction. Is that correct? What does that look like?
TRX Executive Search.
Talk me through that name again.
So TRX, if you take out the vowels in last name.
There you go. It's TRX.
Because
okay.
People mispronounce Truax all the time. TRX worked.
TRX works. I love it. So TRX recruiting, you guys really focus on construction materials, but more importantly, you focus pretty heavily on the really high-end clients that sit in the building materials area. Is that correct? You're talking to a lot of clients that are working with high-level kind of technical building materials, right?
Yeah, so we're doing things like the building envelopes. So tilt wall construction, things that are going into concrete, for instance, additives and epoxies. We're dealing with, stuff that's going into utilities, wastewater management, for the municipality side. So really heavy civil. We don't do the windows and doors and flooring for the most part. We're really working on anything on that outside.
Okay, so really you are working on the outside construction of major buildings. We're not talking about houses. Are these just are these houses in some instances as well, or?
I do a little bit on the residential side, but that's probably about 5%. 95% of it is commercial.
What's the toughest part about working with these candidates and clients? What's kind of the hardest piece of really focusing in those areas?
They're very specialized. There aren't a ton of people who really understand the entire construction process, because that is so integral for the roles that we work in. I do a lot of sales roles and business development, and they're really technical roles that if you don't have that experience and knowledge base, it's really hard to kind of break in. It's small market. Everybody kind of knows everybody else.
Okay.
And one of the biggest things that I really have a challenge with is, I have clients that, hey, I really would like somebody from the industry, but here are all the players that you can't touch. And
yeah, so part of the heart, part of the purple squirrel piece for you is really focusing on what it looks like to actually speak to these people and be in their world, because a lot of times these people can't be touched by other groups because they have requirements, right? The company can't reach out to that company because XYZ, they have a relationship.
Yeah.
And when I'm talking about purple squirrels, that's really what I'm talking about the most often. I'm talking about those people that are out in the industry. You just can't find them. You're not going to get a resume from one of them, those types of things. So it makes sense to me why you built this out, but I am looking at the TRX Search Resume Refiner. Now, I guess my first question to you, when you started walking through and building the TRX Search Resume Refiner, what kind of questions were you asking yourself? What was important when going into this chat GPT and building the actual process for helping people refine their resumes? Kind of what main questions did you have to solve?
Well, one of the biggest challenges, I was working with people who had not created a resume in 10, 15 years. Um, and they didn't even know how to begin doing it. And so many people kind of come up with, here's my job description, and cut and paste that into their resume. And those people weren't getting any traction. They're good candidates, but they weren't getting any traction because they weren't metrics driven. You had people who were actively searching, and they didn't understand how the ATS was doing things, how AI was doing things. Um, and so I really took the thought process of how to integrate people's skill sets,
Mhm.
what jobs require, along with what the needed to get them to have eyes on them.
Yeah.
And then once human eyes are on them, okay, well, what's something that somebody's going to trigger to say, hey, I need to talk to this person?
I
Which
tell I tell everybody that I speak with um, that they are the smartest person that's going to read their resume. They are the smartest person that's going to read their resume. They have to dumb it down. They have to bring it down to a level where people who don't actively do this role on a daily basis can read it and feel the impact. Is that basically what you're trying to do here with the TRX Search Resume Refiner? Is it understanding and feeling the impact, or kind of walk me through what that looks like?
Well, it has to be multi-level because you have to have that initial person who probably has very little clue on what the role actually does.
And also 30 jobs that they're working at the given time.
Not more.
Yep, and possibly more.
And a lot of times you're going to be talking to a generalist. So you have to get past that initial. So you've got the, CRM, AI, ATS screen. So you have to first get past the computer.
Okay.
Then you have to get past that gatekeeper. Then you have to have enough information on there so that the hiring manager is like, yes, this person has everything I want to talk about. So, and that's not easy. I mean, that is a skill in and of itself, which is what drove me to create this because um it could take me and somebody else, the candidate, a long time to really refine that resume
Yeah.
to something that hits all those marks. And this really was created with the thought process of, okay, I took I've created a library for this. So on the back code, um, you've got basically every piece of resume, you know, information that I've ever sent out to a candidate and put it into this library. And I've been doing this for, a couple decades now.
Ah, yeah.
So I mean, it's a couple hundred-page library of, hey, do this, don't do this. Um, but really ensuring that there's a story, there are metrics that are interesting to people. It's easily readable because a lot of times you're going to have you know, seconds to be able to get somebody's attention. And it's how do you blend all of that?
Yeah. How do you make it so that within the first 5 inches of your resume, the hiring manager not only understands that there is value in bringing you to the table, but also understands where you would sit in his organization or her organization. That's huge. Being able to, on a piece of paper, describe how you are a fit for something you don't know what you're doing, like, or you don't even know what they're actually
Yeah.
looking for. That's incredibly tough. And when it comes to the HR teams and when it comes to the candidates and the clients, a lot of shade gets sent toward clients, HR people, simply for the fact that there's a lot out there and, they aren't answering, they're ghosting people, they're doing those things. But the reality is, there are a lot of resumes out there that simply are job descriptions. They're job descriptions of the job that this person did in the past. And that's not what anybody's looking for. What we are looking for is a celebration of success. And that's what I liked the most about this TRX search resume finder. It gives a refiner, it gives you the ability to tell your stories in a way where they're not only successful stories, but they're pieces of the puzzle that can be then put into a whole area. Now, when it comes to the way that it's developed and the way that you've utilized it, a couple of things that I've seen. Number one, you could paste a full on LinkedIn profile into this, and it will just take it and do, a basic walkthrough of what's going on. Is that a fair assessment? Like, what does
Yeah.
that look like?
Yeah. Well, because so many times people will have their resume and that looks like the job description.
Yep.
But then you will have the LinkedIn and you've got a lot more nuance and combining those
Mhm.
because especially on the LinkedIn, it's a little bit more informal.
Okay.
And I think people are more willing to do their shining moments on there rather than their resume. Um, and I think it's really important to tell the story. Everybody has a story. Not everybody knows how to on paper.
Agreed. Agreed. Not only does everybody have a story, but the majority of people don't know how to tell their story in a way where it shows them. In pro wrestling, I would have called it puts them over. Uh,
Yeah.
what that really means is it's taking their best possible qualities and shining a light on them. It's making it extremely easy for somebody to see this is the value that I as a person and the impact that I as a person can bring to your team. Um, I would like to do a quick one.
Yeah. The other thing I think is really important is to not just show your wins, but show how you've created those wins and allude to your soft skills because soft skills are so important. And people are so hung up on the I did this, and this, but they
Yes.
don't allude to how they did it. And that is what companies are looking for is that how. And are you collaborative? Are you leading a team? How are you doing the things? But you have to be able to do that in few words, and that's difficult. And that's
It
part of the
is.
reason I created this is to be able to not just look at the hard skills, but also look at those soft skills and ensure that that is being conveyed in your resume.
Now, I know that we use similar technologies, but I also know we have some differences when it comes to certain areas. So I'm going to put this out there. I use the play method: problem, logic, action, yield. Okay.
Yeah.
You use the star method: situation, task, action, results. The major reason why I've changed to the play method has nothing to do with anything being bad with the star method, but it's more along the lines of that task. Task for me, in the stars method, it's more about the concept of really taking a story and
Mhm.
breaking it into what were the goals that I developed when moving toward action. That's what task typically means in the stars method of interviewing. With logic, the reason why I like to use logic in the play method is because it's more about that thought process of how they developed that plan. And the reason why I like that whole concept is because when I start to think about the logic, there's one thing that a hiring manager cannot get from your resume. It's your thought process. They cannot genuinely understand how you solve problems. But if you take the STARS method, the play method, whatever you want to call it, and you create 3 key accomplishments at the top of your resume, and you make those 3 key accomplishments something that the hiring manager specifically, a problem that they have,
Mhm.
they have, that they're actually feeling it right now. All of a sudden, within the first 5 inches of your resume, you've created this immediate blitz of, ooh, I feel like this is somebody that at least fits. The other thing you've done is you've taken those HR people and given them a direct scenario they probably heard from the hiring manager.
Yep.
So you're giving 2 things, you're helping 2 things, and that I love. I love that concept. I would like to now. We have Richard Oscarby. He is somebody that I know you've worked with. I put together some cool stuff for him online. I wanted to take his resume or his LinkedIn profile, put it through the Finder, and just show in real time what it pulls out. Is that okay? Can I do that?
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. So what I like. Oh, well, we disappeared.
I was gonna say.
I put it in and it disappeared immediately. Now there we go. So one thing that I like about the way that you do this first and foremost is you say right off the bat, this is good content as long as it's as truthful as you're going to make it, right? Um let's talk about truth in advertising when it comes to resumes. I noticed that one thing your resume builder does do is it creates a walkthrough of the overview of somebody's build, but it doesn't really give you there's no foofy wording. There's no cross collaborative actions across blah 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 with multiple teams. It focuses on the actual data. Walk me through how you did that. How did you make it so that instead of focusing on, because everybody's got big wording on their LinkedIn page, it could
Oh
be
yeah.
very easily for this thing to just go through and go, oh, creative success in Fortune 500 companies, because that's what Richard started off with. But walk me through your thought process. How did you create this in a way where it's breaking it down right off the bat in these are results?
Because I told it I want results driven, not I think I literally put in
No
don't
foofy wording.
use tangible results, use tangible data, and create it in such a way that somebody can skim it easily.
Do you find when you're dealing with candidates, regardless of the industry, that it's hard for them sometimes to see their successes or the tangible
Oh yeah.
pieces?
Well, one of the things I regularly talk to people about is if they can get their hands on their reviews,
Hmm.
and you can upload the reviews to this as well.
Really?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
And help pull out your successes. Too often people forget that they need to like walk through all of their successes throughout their career. They only do it at job changes.
Hmm. What happened? Oh,
I have it on my home screen that I created, and it's, it says Kathleen's wins. And I put if you're having a bad day, it's great to look at.
Kathleen,
But B,
Kathleen, I just froze a little bit. Can you back up to what that was called? What the process was called?
um,
You put together a wins chart,
oh
essentially.
yeah,
Yep.
I call it Kathleen's wins.
Okay.
Um, and it's on my home screen that I can just click into it. And if there's something that resonated, or if I have an email or phone call, hey, so and so gave this feedback, I pop that in there. It's
Mhm.
basically a database, and I could take that and create a resume if I needed to.
Yeah.
So it's taking the time, anytime you've got something that you've accomplished, take 5 minutes, throw it into a database, and you start to build those wins. The other thing is if you're interviewing, you can review that and it starts to bring back all of those things that you've accomplished, because so many times people will be in an interview, um, like you and I right here,
Yep.
and you're having a great conversation, but there's something nagging in the back of your head going, I know I've done this.
Yeah.
Where is it? And people fail to really review themselves like they do when they're doing a preparation for any presentation.
Okay.
And so if you've taken the time throughout your career and just little things like, hey, I led this team and this is our accomplishment, it starts to create um pieces where your brain can start to pull examples and stories.
That's so when I talk to people about that, I say put your success, your results, and your challenge first.
Yep.
Put 5, 10 of them, then maybe walk away. Don't do it right away. You won't be able to see those stories from all angles if you start off. Maybe you give it from the first angle, but like you
Hmm.
said, then you go back to your wins chart 3 days later and look at it again. A lot of people, if I'm noticing this correctly in industry and just basically across the board, it seems like it's in every industry. A lot of people see the win that they felt, not the wins that they had.
Yep.
And when I say that, I think a lot of people get confused. What do you mean by the wins that I felt? But the wins that you felt like you were success because of this. But the reality is, you got somebody promoted. You got somebody, you trained somebody through that process. All of the things that you do cross collaboratively are easy to forget because they don't go on your immediate, hey, this is me. So I love what your thing is doing here, what the resume refiner is doing here, because it's really taking that, making some assumptions based on it, knowing that those things would be there. Another thing that I noticed that it does that we haven't even talked about. So let's just kind of walk through what it gave me just with the LinkedIn profile.
Yep.
With the LinkedIn profile, it's giving me a straight up overview. Now, before we ever start, I get a 25 years seasoned B2B leader. So it's going to give me a quick understanding of who this person is and where they should sit. It gives me their biggest highlights right off the bat. And then it talks about alignment. Now, when you are talking about alignment, I'm assuming, because I didn't tell this anything about a job, where does it get this alignment review? What does it know about you in particular, your team, or about just in general whatever works with this? What does it know about those things?
Well, one of the things it's really looking at is making first of all, it makes an assumption on what that next job title is going to look like, and that's from that top piece.
Okay, so it looks at the job, the top of the area of your LinkedIn page, your overview, I guess,
Right.
and it says to itself where would the next logical what's the general basic thing that it says to itself to make that work?
It says, okay, here is the background of this person
Mm-hmm.
that they're showcasing. What is the next logical step? What do they what skills do they have, both hard and soft, that's going to make them successful in that role? Um, there is another tool that I created, um, and that is called the Executive Compass.
Yep.
That actually really goes into this. And it kind of walks people through, okay, what's that next logical role look like? So I took a lot of the um, metrics and data from that and put it into here. Um, I also told it to try and pull as much workplace and workplace psychology.
Okay.
And um
Did you ask
mainly
it to
go ahead.
act? Did you act it to ask as an expert in any specific field?
Within the building materials field.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that I did notice in here too, is that it's clear that you focused this on your industry, which makes total sense. And I think that if a recruiter is watching this out there, understand your industry is different, even if it feels similar. Understanding your industry is different and just saying, listen, in the matrix of organizations across the board that I work with, what would
Right.
this look like? Rich, let's be honest, Rich in an organization like Hinkle Corporation would not be a senior director level. He would be somebody, within a management role. But the reality is a VP director of sales, regardless, is still attractive for multiple areas of Hinkle. It's just it wouldn't be looking for that same, you know what I mean? It wouldn't be looking for that same level. So this gives a great ability to break that down and show, okay, in another organization, it's not going to tell you this, but you can look at it and read it. And once you've started to break this down, you can say, okay, in another organization, he's got 4 states here, 12 reps. I know what this looks like.
It gives a, a picture. And part of the reason I created this is to really start people thinking, because so many people don't even know where to start.
Mhm.
And it helps them to create the narrative. What do they want to showcase? The other thing it shows is, what am I not conveying? And that is as important as what you are conveying.
Mhm.
I mean, are you missing a huge component of what you've done in the last 20 some years?
Yeah.
And I mean, it also, okay, because we talked about that problem. Reading through these, what are common problems that organizations are going to have that you have solved?
Yeah. Common problems, organizations are going to have them. Also, I think it's important to really focus on not only are these organizations going to have these problems, but by describing them, you're going to be somebody that's looked at as, wow, this person understands it. They get it. Let's take the next step with this person. That's what I found most attractive about the way that this presents things. It doesn't present things just simply to present them, it presents them in a way where now you could use them to grow something else off of. And that I love. I do a lot of work with people who are trying to get out of an industry they're in and get into another industry, right? This helps me tremendously. Like one of the things that when I was going through this, was able to look at was, okay, well, where's the similarities between where he's been in construction and chemicals? Where's the similarities between plastics? What types of areas might he fit into? And to me, that gave me a tremendous adhesives. Where would he have touched adhesives that maybe I could touch? As a recruiter, you gave me enough tools here that I don't have to be blunt with you. You gave me Richard, said, hey, he needs some help him find it. And I don't have to go steal him from you. I can find him something in an industry that I work in. And
Mhm.
then I could feel great about that. And, then we can work together that way too. So it's one of those situations where a lot of times in recruiting, there's that closed door effect. And I love the fact that this does what it needs to for you, but that you've made it usable for other recruiters in other industries as well. They just got to go do a little bit of tweaking. I went in
Yeah.
and did a tiny little bit of tweaking to what I had seen, and all of a sudden I'm getting the right results for me too. So it's beautiful. It's a great start. And it's a great way to help candidates without having you give them the tools and you say, hey, go for it. If you can do it, you can do it. The ones that use these, I'm assuming those are your best candidates. Is that correct? Pick up on this
Oh,
stuff and really go after it.
yeah. I mean, I don't know how many people I've gotten, you know, they've called and said, hey, I need some help. And I'm like, I don't have anything for you, but here's these tools. And like 3 weeks later, I get an email or phone call back. I got the job. I changed my resume. I've been looking for 6 months. Um, and all of a sudden it works. I had last week I got something from somebody and he's like, this is just a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him why, and he said, because it really helped me convey the things I didn't know I wasn't conveying.
Yeah. And that's really the important piece of the puzzle. If you can convey what's important to the client and add that to what you know is going to be what you do in the role, all of a sudden you're a top candidate before you ever even get into a first interview. So that's huge. Another
Yeah,
thing I
it
like,
gets people excited.
yeah, it gets people. I always tell people this is what you're looking for when I'm showing candidate or clients a resume. What I want them to do is I want them to say, "Let's put Richard aside, and we'll come back to him." The reason why I want that is because I know what it's done. It's broken their ability to skim the resume. Every hiring manager I've ever spoken to, they give me one answer when I say, "How do you read resumes?" I skim them looking for results. Now, that is the absolute opposite answer I want. I do not want to hear that answer. I don't want to hear I skim because I mean, okay, we've been on on this call here for 30 minutes. We're talking about a resume builder that you built. It probably took you days, weeks, months to build this. Then the client just goes, yeah, not a fit. That's not what you want. You want something that grabs the attention and gives them a reason to say yes, and that's what this does. Um, the other thing that I'm noticing that it does that I really loved, it doesn't give you the resume right off the bat. It makes you work for it. It asks you questions. When I started doing this, my major thing that was a problem was I would put a resume into ChatGPT and say, "Hey, let's go through, let's," blah, 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 blah. And the first thing it would do is just spit out a new resume. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, done." Right? No, that's not what you want. You want to look through your resume multiple times. You want to create that understanding of your resume and then push it to the limits, which is why after it started giving me these questions, you know what I did? I said, screw it. Let Rich answer them. And I put my entire transcript with
Yep.
Rich into the call. I'm not going to. So Rich can go do this on his own if he wants to. But as a recruiter, you and I both know sometimes we're going to get a resume that we don't like and we don't want to send, even though it's a candidate we want to
Oh,
send.
yeah.
Right? I mean, I'm not
All
lying
the
here.
time. You're
There's
like,
been
oh my
resumes. Yes, there
God.
are resumes that I look and I go, God damn it, if I send this resume, this guy's never getting this job. So this gives us the option as well to create some new tools. But once I started walking through this, look what it does. It starts bringing out the terminology that he's using. It starts wording things in a way where it it's not fluffy. It even says not fluffy summary, add 3 to 5 highlights, not fluffy summary. It starts giving ideas about what to do. And if Rich decides that he doesn't want to go through this, I can say, let's create, right? I can say, let's create a resume that will work for this job, that will work for X role. And I can do that. I can show what would be a title that maybe we would want to work with Rich here.
See,
Um,
I usually pull in a job, their ideal job. I always tell candidates,
okay.
find one or two of those ideal jobs.
Yep.
Throw that job description in there.
And once you do that, it's going to
Then
pull up that.
it's gonna create alignment in terminology and wording.
So talk to me about you just said something. I think that's important. Alignment and terminology and wording. Talk to me about what that means to you.
There are, we talk about keywords, right? But there are so many different ways to say industry standard things. And it is making sure one of the things I have told it is if there is, for example, one of the things I work with is form work. But it could be called forming. Some people, it's forming slash shoring. Um, there are nuances into different terminology that the industry may use. But the problem is if you have an HR person doing a search and they only put in one of those words
Mhm,
and you don't have that on your resume,
mhm.
you've been eliminated.
Yeah. I always say it's an interesting piece of the puzzle.
Do
So
that.
there's the
There's
resume
two.
robot that does that. It's looking for specific wording across industry. It's looking for specific feedback across industry as well. It's looking for something more than just what we're looking at as a recruiter. So I guess my question to you when it comes to when a job description has required skills on it, how do you deal with those required skills? What do you say let's do with those required skills? Do you say we absolutely put them on the resume? Do you say never mind, let's not put them on the resume, or let's put them on the top of the resume just to make sure that the robot reads them correctly? What are your thoughts when it comes to putting those specific skills candidates need?
So for me, I try and make sure that at least it's alluded to so that the computer thinks that that person has it in that first half of the resume.
First half,
Because
first page, right?
yeah, because um when the AI is ranking these things, a
Mhm.
lot of the AI is
Heavy.
looking at that top, and that's the other reason why I'm telling people take that, skill set keyword matrix thing that's at the top of your resume. If you
Yep.
want to have it, throw it at the bottom.
So you say throw it at the bottom. I say throw it at the top. I know this is the only thing we've ever disagreed on at this point. So I'm going to just ask this question. You say throw it at the bottom. I always say put it right below your key accomplishments. The main reason why I say that is like you said, that first page is hot. It's very heavy on the AI. It's reading everything on that AI first, saying to itself, this is definitely something that is relevant. Now, I've always said the farther down your resume you go, you start having dates. The dates are something AI doesn't recognize. It doesn't understand that if this happened during 98, it also probably happened during other times. It's just they're not
Oh
talking
yeah.
about it. I'm a firm believer that if you put it at the bottom of the resume, what ends up happening is all of that weight you get gets lost because it's looking at it below the dates saying, well, this happened before 2010. Who gives a shit? Now, what are your thoughts on that?
My thought is you make sure that those keywords are incorporated in the top,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't create a separate section.
I like that. Okay. So, from your perspective, what you would do in that instance, I usually say put a skills section, throw it up at the top so it's just listed there and at least it's above the dates. But from your perspective, taking those key accomplishments that we're talking about and really filling them with those words that you see in the requirements section is probably going to be your best bet. Is that what I'm understanding you kind of saying to me?
Yeah, because the problem when you have those keywords is a lot of times they're so generic
Mm-hmm.
that although the AI loves it, the human doesn't.
Yeah.
And so when you or I are reading it, it gets glossed over because you're not reading, the person has Salesforce. Okay, whatever.
Yep.
Um, you know, there's a lot of assumptions made because of job titles. I don't know about you, but I tend to skip that entire skills section.
Yeah. When it comes to the skills section, I do skip it. It is one of those things where if I see something in it, like SAS or SAP for HANA, it does attract me though. I'll skim it and read it. It's easy to skim if it's a section, right? So I guess it's just one of those things where it's more of a personal feeling, but I do absolutely agree with you. I agree with you 100% that you need to have a section at the top of your resume that speaks the language of the client. And if we're talking about the language of the client, kind of walk me through this. Obviously takes the language of the client into consideration.
Yeah, because it has to match that hiring manager. mm, Because, for instance, if you're applying to a job right now, you're looking, you know, because of AI and the way it's working, we're getting hundreds of resumes.
Yep.
You have, you used to have like 6 to 8 seconds. I mean, I'm looking at some of these in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm a
but
little slower at everything, Kathy.
um, I don't know. I mean, I say 2 seconds. That's what it feels like. It probably isn't, but it's probably a little
No, it
long.
probably is. I will tell you that the HR managers, the hiring managers that I'm watching,
They're
regardless of
not
what
sitting
down, they're not having this deep kind of resume review looking through. They're grabbing the first 20 resumes that come through and they're going fit, 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 not fit, not fit, not fit. And that's it. HR managers do not have time. And I'm not shitting on HR managers either.
No, they're. I
Absolutely
mean, they're
not.
working a ton of jobs, and they're not even similar jobs. I mean, you've got the hourly to a VP. I mean,
We
yeah,
absolutely have the benefit of just saying, no, I'm not going to take a product engineer role. I don't know anything about it. But on the other side of that, they don't. They have to. When it comes to mechanical engineer running adhesive, machinery, they have to know about that. And they don't have to know about
yeah.
it exactly, but they have to have at least a bit of an understanding. So that's huge. Um, I just took this and fits this role. So while we're here, I took this. I had it search for a role for me. It does that too, by the way, Kathleen. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but it searches for roles. And then it gives me a visual resume. It walks me through what the resume is going to look like. Now, I will say this, it gives a lot of the things that I tell people not to do. But again, it gives a lot of things that I tell people to do. I always say don't put a blurb of words on the top of your resume because you're basically inviting people to skim that. But you don't have to use all of this. You can walk through this is what you should be using in your resume. In fact, I would say if you aren't copying and pasting everything from your experience into a Google sheet and then walking through individually what it pulled out and saying, okay, well, what's this actual story? Launched inside sales pilot, scaled nationally 28 reps, reduced sales cycles, 20% increased conversion rates. Kathleen, I'm going to tell you two things. Number one, I have been going through this for 7 years with candidates, and I will tell you that this piece of technology that you've put together does exactly what I ask candidates to do in their examples and in their experience. It gives the situation, what was the challenge, what was the result. I'm assuming that's what you tell everyone to do. Walk me through the why. Why is it important not to have the task and the action actually on your resume? What does that create? Let's walk through what that looks like for people.
Well, you know, one of the things I think people forget is the purpose of that resume. The purpose of the resume is to have a conversation. And I always equate it to your ESPN highlights,
Yeah.
right? Or if you're a high school athlete trying to get noticed, you're creating a 30 to 2 minute reel, and it is enough information to get somebody excited
Mm-hmm.
that wants to have that conversation, that wants to see more. There, so if you have a synopsis of a story, think of it as the lead in a newspaper. Why do I want to learn more about this?
Okay.
And it is using people really wanting to know more
Okay.
and that psychology behind, okay, what things are interesting to people and what is going to get them excited to want to talk to this person and learn the why. How did you do that? It is, that same, question with the, scaled nationally to 28 reps. Well, how did you do that? How did you build that team? What did that look like? Were you doing the recruiting? Was this um organic? Was it, hey, we started with 4 reps, everybody grew their territories, so we split them in half. How did you manage to do that over a period of time? And what did you learn? I think that's another key component, because so many times, yes, you did this, but you've had so many lessons learned, and how would you do it again differently?
Yeah.
And being able to leverage that information.
Well,
When I
and to talk about that, when you have it actually telling them, get the revenue number,
yeah,
you have it telling them, look at the increase. You have it telling them this was a piece of the puzzle that you aren't giving enough information for. That kind of thing is huge. This is the way somebody learns how to write their resume, breaking it down in this fashion. And it stops the resume from being a job description or a walkthrough of the roles that they've worked on. And it starts it becoming a celebration of their successes. And to me, that's huge. Your resume should be a celebration of your successes. It should have the value of understanding right off the bat, you made an impact. This is where you made that impact. You made an impact here. This is where you made, this is how. I love that. So this is a great tool. The other tools are fantastic as well. I just don't think that we need to give away the whole thing in one
yeah,
podcast. But the reality is this tool is fantastic, and it really does not only, it's not just about, you didn't say resume writer for a reason.
right. Yeah, no. And I am a huge proponent of people writing the resume themselves.
Yeah.
Um, I know probably there are resume writers out there that are, cursing my name right now, but the process of writing and rewriting and refining your resume is reflective.
Yes.
And you said at the beginning, there's no better person that understands your story than yourself. I have seen beautiful resumes by resume writers. Don't get me wrong, they're beautiful.
Yep.
There is absolutely zero content.
I will say this. The best writers typically write the worst resumes. And in fact, I uh, do not, when people ask me, will you write my resume or can you do that? I typically say no, mainly because yes, I'm a writer. Like I'm an author of a book and things like that. But the
Right.
reality is I don't want to be the one. I want to translate that information to you so that you can share it. And a lot of times, all you really need from a resume writer, I tell people, if you're going to spend $1,000 to go talk to a resume writer, talk to them. Don't worry about the resume that they write for you. Just start from the beginning and tell your stories. The resume writer's benefit is not the fact that they are writing the resume. It's the fact that they're having you talk about your issues out loud
Yep.
most of the time. And I've worked with resume writers and I 100% suggest them in a lot of instances. Kathleen, you said the best resume writer is the person there. I disagree in certain ways. There
Uh-huh.
are some people out there, and we work with them because they're highly technical. They're highly logical, and focused. So when it comes to their resume, they can't possibly write those stories. They're too in that I need the physical, I need to see it. But
Okay.
when somebody like you and me sits down with them and has an hour-long conversation and they start breaking down those stories, and then we send stuff back to them, say, hey, this is what I read from this conversation. I'm betting you've noticed on numerous occasions that opens people up that didn't seem to be talking very well about their own stories or sharing their stories very well. It opens them up, and then they send you an email usually. I know I wasn't really speaking about this, but I had this story and it was looking like this. Now I can refine that for them. But
Yeah.
I've given them the tools to write it themselves and then give it to me because there's huge value in writing it yourself. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah. And I mean, I agree with you that there are some people that really need it's the process, right?
Yes,
What I'm saying is don't hand over the process
to somebody
and
else.
have no control
Uh-huh.
over it. And those are the ones that really read job description
Yeah,
because it's obvious whoever wrote this doesn't know you.
agreed. Um,
And to be a successful resume writer, you need to know the idiosyncrasies of this person. How do they work? What's important to them? Because that is conveyed in a resume.
it's conveyed and it's what's going to draw people in.
Right.
Yeah, it's the marketing thing. It's funny. I work with a lot of marketing and salespeople, and I bet you have this same experience. They start reading through their resume after I've talked to them about it, and then go, "This is the basics of what I do. I don't know why I couldn't do it before I talked to you." And the answer is because they aren't talking to anyone that their best cheerleaders aren't them. Their best cheerleaders are the people who they've impacted, and they don't usually go see those people. I always say the best way recruiting would actually work would be if I just got to talk to all of their managers, right? I just want to talk
Oh,
to
yeah.
all of your managers. I don't even want to talk to you. I just want to talk to everybody that's ever worked, get an open understanding. Because listen, I know that I'm going to get somebody that says, oh, the guy showed up late to work every once in a while and blah, blah, blah. But the reality is, I'm going to get an overview of what that looks like from the perspective of somebody who actually cares about it. So that to me would be the value, but there's no way to get it. So this is the second best. This is being able to take that and go, okay, now I know what this looks like. Now I know how to do this. Um, I do not want to take up too much more of your time. We are going on an hour here. That being said, I want to respect everything we've kind of put here. What kind of closing thoughts do you have? Let's kind of talk about, we've walked through the resume reader and then plug yourself. Give me a quick plug of, what you're recruiting, where you're recruiting, how people can find you. Let's kind of go through those areas.
Well, first of all, I am very active on LinkedIn. Kathleen Truax. You'll find me. There aren't that many of us in the world. Um, um, and I am working on a ton of sales positions throughout the country. I am doing anywhere from a VP of sales all the way down to individual contributor roles. Really across the, I've got West, Southwest, Northeast, Central. Some for large PE owned companies all the way to small, 20 person organizations.
This
I
is
really
always this is always an odd question to ask a recruiter, but are you comfortable sharing maybe a client or two that somebody might know? If not, it's totally fine. I just want to put that out there.
right now, I I'm
Totally
gonna
fine.
keep it a little bit
Yep.
veiled because I have a couple highly confidential searches going on right now.
Totally understand.
And industry leaders, but I can't you
You
know
have people that if somebody reached out to you and they were having a conversation in the construction world, they go, "Shit, I know that person or that company, and I really want to be involved in them." Is that what I'm hearing?
oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's true. I've worked with you for a while, Kathleen. I know that you I've seen the people that you're placing. I've talked to a lot of the people that you're working with. A couple of things about Kathleen. No nonsense. She takes care of her candidates. She takes care of her clients. She is somebody that if you are in the construction industry or really just across the board, you want to reach out to, have the conversation with, even if you're not interested. That is probably the most important piece of this puzzle that I'm going to put at the end of this conversation is we're not talking about actions you do when you're desperate looking. This is not a tool for you to use when you just got let go and now you're desperately looking for your next stage. You can, but this is genuinely a tool you should be using once a quarter. In my opinion, the way that people should be working with their stories and with their resumes, your resume should not be put in a corner and then gone for 2 years. It should be every quarter. You're sitting down, you're looking at the successes that you have throughout your career and saying, how do I look at this from the perspective of a company that I want to work for, a passion that I have that I can reach for now that I have that? That to me is the most important piece of this. So if I can give any advice to everybody out there, sit down, use the TRX Search Resume Refiner. Go, reach out to Kathleen. Maybe she can get you into the beta. I know it's going to be coming out soon, but if you have that ability, take a look at it, walk through it, post about what it does for you on LinkedIn. Because the truth is, this isn't writing you a resume. This is creating a portfolio of successes for you to be able to create resumes that work for you. Kathleen, incredible tool. Really appreciate you reaching out and having this conversation with me and giving me the access to this, because this tool is by far the best tool that I've seen from any recruiter out there when it comes to just breaking it down in a method that works universally and looking at the important things. It's not looking at stuff that's not important. It's not floofy. It's very much so writing the resume the way a hiring manager wants to hear it. So hiring managers out there, if you haven't reached out to Kathleen, reach out to Kathleen now. Have the conversation about what she's doing. If you're a candidate out there and you're in the construction industry, sales, you're really focused on building those revenue, don't worry about if you're happy. Go have a conversation with Kathleen. She will make the time for you. Reach out to me. I will make the time for you regardless. And hopefully you'll be chasing that next big job. So hopefully we can get you top talent in that chase. Thank you very much, Kathleen. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for your kind words,
And
George. It was greatly appreciated.
We'll talk to you soon. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so that you can make your resume a celebration of your successes. Follow me on LinkedIn.